When I saw my own daughter and her husband leave me at the Los Angeles airport without any money or documents, thinking I had come to ask for cash, I knew it was time to show them what it really meant to lose everything. They had no idea why I had come or what I was doing, and when they found out, they begged me for forgiveness. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. We already told you, we're not giving you any more money. Pierce's voice cut through the LAX terminal noise like broken glass. I froze mid-step, the gift bag containing Michael's science kit suddenly heavy in my hand. Travelers streamed around us near Gate 12, their conversations creating a wall of sound that seemed to muffle everything except my son-in-law's accusation. Pierce, what are you talking about? I shifted my overnight bag, genuinely confused. I haven't asked you for anything. Christina stepped beside her husband, arms crossed. Her business jacket was wrinkled from the drive, stress lines etched around eyes that used to light up when she saw me. Dad, don't pretend. You've been calling more and more, always with some emergency. My stomach dropped. The last time I'd called was 3 weeks ago, just to hear Michael's voice after his soccer game. Before that, maybe a month. Christina, sweetheart, I flew here for Michael's birthday. I brought him a gift and I wanted to... No. Pierce stepped closer, his finger jabbing the air between us. We've discussed this. Your dependency on us has to stop. Christina needs space from your constant emotional demands. The words hit like physical blows. Around us, a businessman checked his watch. A mother pulled her toddler closer. An elderly woman paused, sensing drama, then hurried away. The $50,000 check in my jacket pocket felt like it was burning through the fabric. I don't understand. My voice came out smaller than I intended. I came to celebrate Michael's 10th birthday. I have something for you both, actually. Save it. Pierce grabbed Christina's elbow. We're done enabling your neediness. Figure out your own problems for once. I reached toward my jacket, desperate to show them the check. If you just look? No, Dad. Christina's voice carried a hardness I'd never heard before. We need a break from you. A real break. Maybe when you learn some boundaries, we can talk. The gift bag slipped from my numb fingers. The expensive science microscope kit I'd spent hours selecting tumbled across the terminal floor, its bright wrapping paper tearing against the tile. A security guard looked our way, then approached slowly. Pierce pulled out my phone, the one I'd handed to Christina when I'd hugged her hello 5 minutes ago. Instead of returning it, he pocketed it. This stays with us until you prove you can respect our limits. They turned and walked away. Just like that. Christina's heels clicked against the floor in perfect rhythm with Pierce's confident stride. They didn't look back. Not once. Not even when I called Christina's name. The security guard reached me as other passengers stepped around the scattered gift box components. Sir? You okay? I stared at the spot where my daughter had been standing. Last Christmas, Michael had hugged me tight after opening his presents, whispering, I love you, Grandpa, against my ear. That same Michael was waiting at home right now, probably wondering where his grandfather was. Sir? I looked down at my shaking hands, then at the torn wrapping paper. I need to get to a hotel. Pierce slammed the car door and started the engine, his movements sharp with satisfaction. In the passenger seat, Christina stared straight ahead as they pulled away from LAX's departure curb. Finally. He merged into traffic with aggressive confidence. Finally, he gets the message. Christina twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit Pierce had learned to recognize. He looked so confused, though. That's his game. Pierce accelerated past a slower car, his voice gaining momentum. Playing victim, making you feel guilty. Classic emotional manipulation, Christina. We've talked about this. The freeway stretched before them, Tuesday afternoon traffic flowing toward Westwood. Christina watched planes ascending in the distance, tiny metal birds carrying people toward reunions, not away from them. But the way he said he hadn't asked us for money? She paused. When was the last time he actually did? Pierce's grip tightened on the steering wheel. It's not always direct. The constant calls. The, how are you doing? Questions. He's fishing for information about our finances, looking for opportunities to make you feel obligated. Christina nodded slowly, the way she always did when Pierce explained things she hadn't considered. Traffic slowed, giving him more time to reinforce the narrative. Think about it, he continued. Why else would he fly out here without warning? He's testing boundaries, seeing if we'll cave. The gift bag, the surprise visit, it's all calculated. By the time they reached their Westwood neighborhood, Christina's resistance had dissolved. Pierce pulled into their driveway, already planning his victory celebration. Inside the house, he went straight to his laptop. Look at this. He angled the screen toward Christina as she hung up her jacket. 4-bedroom colonial in Beverly Hills, just reduced to $800,000. Christina moved to the kitchen, mechanically beginning dinner preparations. She washed the same plate twice while Pierce scrolled through real estate listings, his confidence expanding with each click. His phone rang. Marcus, perfect timing. Pierce leaned back in his chair, grinning. Handled the old man situation today. Yeah, exactly what we discussed. Set some hard boundaries. Christina found herself staring at Michael's art project on the refrigerator, a drawing of the three of them plus Kenneth, all stick figures holding hands under a smiling sun. Michael's teacher had written "Family's Love" across the top in red marker. At 6 o'clock, they picked up Michael from his after-school program. He bounded into the back seat, backpack trailing. Is Grandpa Kenneth coming for my birthday? He said he might have a surprise. Christina caught Pierce's eye in the rearview mirror. Her husband's expression remained calm, controlled. Grandpa couldn't make it this time, buddy, Pierce said smoothly. Maybe next year. But he promised. He said 10 was a really important birthday. Christina turned to face her son. Sometimes grown-ups have to change their plans, sweetheart. Michael's face fell, but he didn't argue. At 10, he'd learned when discussions were over. That evening, after Michael had gone to bed disappointed, Christina found herself holding her phone. She dialed Kenneth's number twice. Both calls went straight to voicemail, which made sense since Pierce still had the phone in his jacket pocket. Give him time to think about his behavior, Pierce said, not looking up from his laptop. Trust me, in a week he'll call apologizing, ready to respect our boundaries. Christina set down her phone, but her fingers kept reaching for it. Room 847 at the LAX Marriott smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and recycled air. I sat in the single chair by the window, watching planes taxi across the runway in the growing darkness. The room service tray sat untouched on the desk. Caesar salad and grilled chicken I'd ordered more from habit than hunger. The $50,000 check lay on the bedside table, slightly wrinkled from when it had fallen with the gift bag. I'd smoothed it out carefully, noting the smudged ink where my thumb had pressed against Christina's name in the pay to line. 8 o'clock became 9, then 10. I pulled out my wallet and found the photo I'd carried for 15 years. Christina in her cap and gown, master's degree in marketing, her smile bright with possibility. She'd hugged me that day in 2010, tears streaming down her face. Daddy, I did it. We did it. The hotel's silence pressed against me as I began remembering. Christina's wedding. September 2010. She'd wanted everything perfect. The dress, the flowers, the reception at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Pierce had been charming then, thanking me repeatedly for making their dream day possible. $65,000. Christina had cried when I handed her the check. Daddy, I don't know how to thank you. This is more than I ever dreamed. Michael's birth, March 2012. Complications during delivery, a week in NICU, insurance gaps that left them facing $30,000 in medical bills. I'd flown out immediately, spent 3 days sleeping in the hospital waiting room chair. When Michael finally came home healthy, Christina had held my hand. I don't know what we would have done without you, Dad. Their first house. May 2014. Pierce had found the perfect starter home in Westwood, but they were short on the down payment. $80,000. This time, Pierce had done most of the talking. Christina's father should help family, he'd said, like it was natural law. Christina had nodded along, already changing. Pierce's business venture. August 2017. A food delivery app that would revolutionize the industry. $120,000. I'd hesitated. Pierce's pitch felt practiced, artificial. But Christina had looked so hopeful. Dad, this could set us up for life. Pierce has such vision. The app failed within 6 months. COVID. March dates 20 through December 2021. Both of them lost jobs temporarily. $3,200 monthly for mortgage payments, utilities, insurance. 22 months of support while they figured out their new careers. No gratitude by then, just expectations. The gradual cooling. 2022 through 2024. Phone calls growing shorter. Visits becoming rarer. Pierce's language creeping into Christina's vocabulary. Boundaries. Healthy distance. Financial dependence. My own grief from losing Sarah making me reach out more, which somehow made me needier in their eyes. I found the hotel notepad and began calculating. $65,000 for the wedding, $30,000 for medical bills, $80,000 for the house, $120,000 for Pierce's failed business, $70,000 in COVID support, smaller amounts over the years, car repairs, appliances, Michael's private school registration fees. The total made my chest tighten. $647,000 over 15 years. My phone, the hotel room phone, rang at midnight. The front desk checking if I needed anything. I assured them I was fine, though we both knew I wasn't. More memories flooded back. Sarah's warnings before she died. Don't let grief make you too generous, Kenneth. They need to value what they receive. But after the funeral, when Pierce had suggested I move closer to family, when Christina had seemed genuinely concerned about my loneliness, supporting them had felt like love in action. Michael's first steps had been toward me. His first word after Mama and Dada had been Grandpa. Every birthday, every Christmas, every school play I'd attended had felt like investments in relationship, not transactions requiring gratitude. But somewhere along the way, Pierce had reframed everything. My grief had become neediness. My generosity had become manipulation. My love had become a burden they needed to escape. At 2 a.m, I opened my laptop. The hotel Wi-Fi connected slowly, but eventually I found what I was looking for: attorney websites. Specifically, Robert Steele and Associates, my longtime friend and legal counsel back in Manhattan. I stared at the screen for a long time, thinking about Michael's disappointed face when he learned Grandpa Kenneth couldn't make it for his 10th birthday. Thinking about $647,000 freely given and freely dismissed. Thinking about my own daughter walking away without looking back. I gave them everything. Time to show them what nothing looks like. The 6 a.m. flight to JFK felt like traveling backward through time zones and through my own transformation. In my window seat, laptop open, I reviewed 15 years of bank records with the methodical precision that had built my financial consulting practice. Every transfer, every check, every automatic payment, I'd kept meticulous documentation. The businessman beside me ordered coffee. I declined the flight attendant's offer, too focused on the numbers spreading across my screen. $647,000 in gifts. If reclassified as loans at standard family lending rates with compound interest. The calculation made me pause. LAX fell away below us as I opened a new spreadsheet, labeling columns with the precision I'd once used for Fortune 500 clients. Date, amount, interest rate, compounding period, maturity. My fingers moved across the keyboard with muscle memory from 4 decades in finance. 8 hours later, I stood in Robert Steele's mahogany-paneled office overlooking Central Park. My organized files spread across his conference table like evidence in a trial. Robert studied the documents with the same intensity he'd once applied to merger contracts. Kenneth, this is... He adjusted his glasses, reviewing the calculations. Legally, every gift can be reclassified as a loan under family dependency doctrine, especially given the pattern of increasing demands and diminishing gratitude. I'd known Robert for 25 years, trusted his judgment on everything from my retirement planning to Sarah's estate. Now his professional assessment carried the weight of vindication. The total amount due, with reasonable interest compounded annually. Robert input numbers into his calculator. $847,000. The number hung in the air between us like a verdict. Bulletproof case. Robert continued, making notes on his legal pad. The documented pattern of escalating financial dependence, combined with their recent rejection of your support, creates clear grounds for loan recovery. We can file immediately. Do it. Robert looked up from his notes. Kenneth, are you certain? This will fundamentally change your relationship with Christina. I thought about her walking away at LAX, about Pierce pocketing my phone, about Michael waiting for a grandfather who would never arrive for his birthday. They already changed it, Robert. I'm just making it official. The next morning, I sat in my Upper East Side apartment making methodical phone calls. First, my bank, the same institution I'd used for 30 years, where they knew my voice and history. I requested immediate cessation of all automatic payments to the Morrison household. Mr. Hughes, I see monthly transfers of $3,200 for mortgage, $450 for insurance, $280 for utilities, and $800 for private school tuition. You want all of these canceled? Immediately. These have been active for, the representative paused, checking records, multiple years. Are you sure? Completely certain. By 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. in Los Angeles, my phone rang. Christina. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Dad? Her voice carried confusion, not anger yet. Our mortgage payment failed this morning. The bank said, they said you canceled the automatic transfer. I thought you needed a break from me, sweetheart. But Dad, that's not, we didn't mean financially. We just meant, what did you mean exactly, Christina? Silence stretched across the continent. In the background, I could hear Pierce's voice, too distant to make out words, but urgent in tone. Dad, please, don't do this. Michael's school tuition is due this week. The insurance payment, I'm sure Pierce will figure it out. He seemed very confident yesterday about handling your family's problems independently. Dad, I hung up gently and turned off the phone's ringer. 15 minutes later, she called again. This time, I didn't answer at all. Robert returned from lunch to find me still in his office, reviewing legal documents with the satisfaction of a man who'd finally stopped playing defense. Phase 1 complete, I said, signing the formal loan demand letter he'd prepared. Now let's discuss Phase 2. Christina stared at the bank statement spread across their kitchen counter, the numbers blurring through her exhaustion. Negative $3,847. The overdraft fees alone had cost them more than their monthly grocery budget. Pierce walked in from the garage, car keys still jingling in his hand. His confidence from 2 days ago had cracked around the edges, but he maintained his swagger. Coffee's cold. It's not just the mortgage. She pushed the statement toward him. Insurance bounced. Utilities bounced. Your car payment bounced. Pierce grabbed the paper, scanning the red numbers with growing alarm. But instead of concern, his face hardened with anger. Old man's bluffing. He'll crack within a week. Bluffing? Christina's voice pitched higher. Pierce, we have no money. 0. Less than 0. He can't actually cut us off. We're family. Pierce poured himself coffee, his movements aggressive. This is emotional manipulation. Classic narcissistic behavior. Christina watched her husband dismiss their financial catastrophe as if it were a minor inconvenience. 3 days ago, she'd trusted his assessment. Now, with bills scattered across their counter like accusations, doubt crept through her exhaustion. We need to call him. Apologize. Absolutely not. Pierce slammed his mug down. That rewards his tantrum behavior. We hold the line. What line? Pierce, Michael's school tuition is due Friday. So we'll figure it out. Christina stared at him. With what money? Pierce's jaw tightened. Then his expression shifted, calculating. Actually, we have leverage he doesn't know about. He called Michael down from his bedroom. Their son appeared in pajamas, hair sticking up, confused by the early morning summons. Buddy, remember how sad you were that Grandpa Kenneth missed your birthday? Michael nodded solemnly. He promised he'd come. Well, Grandpa's been having some grown-up problems. He needs to know how much you miss him. Pierce positioned his phone for video recording. Can you tell him how you feel? What followed made Christina's stomach twist. Pierce coaching their son through tears, recording Michael's genuine confusion and hurt, turning their child's love for his grandfather into a weapon. Send this, Pierce told Christina, uploading the video. Add a message. Fix this, or you'll never see him again. Christina's finger hovered over the send button. On screen, Michael's face was streaked with tears, asking why Grandpa Kenneth didn't love him anymore. Pierce, this feels wrong. It's strategy. We're protecting our family. She sent the video. The afternoon brought Pierce's networking campaign. He called Kenneth's former colleagues in Manhattan, spinning elaborate stories about elderly confusion and family harassment. Christina listened from the kitchen as his voice shifted for each call, concerned son-in-law to one person, worried businessman to another. Bill? Pierce Morrison, Christina's husband. I'm worried about Kenneth's mental state. Yes, he's been making wild financial accusations. Harassment, really. By evening, Pierce had called 6 of Kenneth's business contacts, Kenneth's neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, and even the doorman at Kenneth's building. Each conversation painted Kenneth as unstable, unreliable, possibly suffering from age-related decline. Christina retreated to Michael's room, where her son sat surrounded by photos of family vacations. Every picture included Kenneth, at Disney World, at Michael's soccer games, teaching Michael to fish at the lake house. Mom, did I make Grandpa Kenneth mad? The question broke something inside her chest. No, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups have complicated problems. But he loves me, right? Christina looked at the photos. Kenneth's face in every image showed pure joy whenever he looked at Michael. Not once in 10 years had her father been anything but devoted to his grandson. Yes, baby. He loves you very much. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mrs. Morrison? This is Robert Steele from Steele & Associates. We need to discuss your father's loan documentation. Christina's blood went cold. Loan documentation. I'm calling to inform you that formal legal proceedings have been initiated regarding $847,000 in outstanding family loans. We'll need to schedule a meeting to review the terms. The phone slipped from Christina's hand. Pierce appeared in the doorway, having heard her sharp intake of breath. Who was that? Christina stared at him, the magnitude of their situation finally crystallizing. Her father hadn't just cut off their allowance, he'd declared war. The morning sunlight streaming through my Manhattan apartment windows felt different now, sharper, more focused. I sat in my home office surrounded by 3 decades of carefully maintained business relationships, each contact representing a potential pressure point in my campaign against Pierce and Christina. Robert Steele arrived at 9 o'clock sharp, carrying a leather portfolio thick with documentation. The loan paperwork is officially filed, he announced, settling into the chair across from my desk. $847,000 with standard family lending terms and compound interest. I nodded, already moving to phase 2. On my computer screen, I'd organized my contacts into 3 strategic categories: financial industry connections, Pierce's tech industry network, and social circle infiltration. 40 years in business had given me relationships Pierce couldn't imagine. David Chen is available for lunch today, I told Robert. Senior Vice President at First National Bank. They hold Christina and Pierce's mortgage. Robert raised an eyebrow. Kenneth, we need to be careful about... I'm not asking him to break any rules, just sharing some family concerns about borrower stability. At Le Bernardin, David and I settled into our usual corner table. I'd always appreciated David's methodical approach to risk assessment, a trait that had served both our careers well over the years. Kenneth, you look good. How are you handling retirement? Actually, David, I'm dealing with some family concerns. I cut into my halibut, keeping my tone conversational. My daughter and son-in-law, I'm worried about their financial judgment. David's fork paused halfway to his mouth. After 20 years of friendship, he recognized my serious voice. Their mortgage is with your bank, I continued. Pierce Morrison's employment history is concerning. Frequent job changes, failed business ventures, pattern of financial overreach. I can't discuss specific accounts, Kenneth. You know that. Of course not. I'm just sharing my concerns as a family member. Pierce has convinced Christina to live beyond their means. I've been supporting them for years, but recently discovered they've been misrepresenting their financial stability to creditors. David set down his wine glass. In banking, misrepresentation was a serious word. Their ability to meet mortgage obligations is questionable, I added quietly. Thought you should know. After lunch, I returned to my apartment and began phase 2, industry network activation. Patricia Williams answered on the second ring. Kenneth Hughes, how lovely to hear from you. Patricia had been HR director at TechFlow Solutions for 8 years. We'd met through industry conferences, maintained a professional friendship. More importantly, Pierce had interviewed with TechFlow last year. Patricia, I hope you don't mind me calling with a delicate matter. It's about Pierce Morrison. Oh, Pierce. Yes, we interviewed him. Seemed capable enough. I'm concerned about his financial judgment. Family pressures are affecting his work focus. He's facing significant financial obligations that might impact his professional reliability. Patricia's tone shifted to professional interest. What kind of financial pressures? Substantial family debt, poor spending decisions, history of failed business ventures. I thought you should know, given his interest in your company. We appreciate the heads up, Kenneth. Professional references don't always cover personal financial stability. 3 more calls followed. Marcus Rodriguez, who golfed with TechFlow's CEO. Jennifer Kim, the premier tech industry recruiter in Los Angeles. Tom Bradley, who managed IT consulting contracts throughout the city. Each conversation was carefully crafted. No lies, no exaggerations, just professionally expressed concerns about Pierce Morrison's financial judgment and current family pressures affecting his work performance. By 6 o'clock, I'd planted strategic doubts in the minds of 5 key people in Pierce's professional network. Not enough to destroy him, but sufficient to make potential employers pause, ask additional questions, perhaps choose safer candidates. My phone buzzed with an email notification. Pierce Morrison, employment application withdrawn from Digital Dynamics Corporation. I smiled for the first time since LAX. Robert called as I was preparing dinner. Kenneth, I've been thinking about your approach. It's remarkably sophisticated. 40 years in business teaches you about leverage points. Just remember, the goal is financial recovery, not destruction. I looked out my window at the city lights beginning to twinkle across Manhattan. Robert, they destroyed our relationship first. I'm simply showing them the financial consequences of that choice. And phase 3? Social pressure. Pierce values his image, his status. Time to show him how quickly reputation can crumble. Another email notification chimed. Startup Hub Technologies, application withdrawn due to incomplete reference verification. 1 week after my legal strike began, Christina and Pierce sat across from Susan Rodriguez, the branch manager at First National Bank. I could picture the scene perfectly. The sterile conference room, the manila folder thick with their financial catastrophe, Pierce's aggressive posturing masking his growing panic. From my Manhattan apartment, I'd orchestrated this meeting without lifting a finger. David Chen's casual inquiry to the mortgage department about borrower stability concerns had triggered standard risk assessment protocols. Susan's professional voice carried through Christina's speakerphone as she called me immediately afterward. I listened to the voicemail twice, savoring every detail. Dad, please call me back. The bank is reviewing our mortgage. They mentioned information about financial instability. I don't understand what's happening. I deleted the message without responding. The next call came from Westwood Academy's billing office. Michael's tuition, $3,200 monthly, had bounced. Again. The school's grace period was exactly 10 days. Pay or withdraw. Pierce's job search provided my daily entertainment. Through my carefully planted network, I tracked his interview schedule like a hunter monitoring prey. Tech Venture Corporation cut his interview short after Patricia Williams shared her concerns about candidate reliability. Digital Solutions suddenly decided on an internal promotion. Startup Hub's enthusiasm evaporated following a casual conversation between their CEO and Marcus Rodriguez about difficult family situations affecting professional judgment. Christina's workplace situation deteriorated predictably. Margaret, her supervisor, called a performance review after Christina missed another client deadline. The family stress was bleeding into her professional competence, exactly as I'd calculated. But Michael's suffering gave me pause. Christina's voicemails grew increasingly desperate, not about money, but about her son's confusion. The 10-year-old kept calling my number from the school phone, leaving heartbreaking messages asking if he'd done something wrong. Those messages I kept. They reminded me why Pierce deserved everything that was coming. The social pressure campaign launched on day 8. Westwood was a small community where reputation mattered. When Pierce's car got repossessed from their driveway at noon on a Tuesday, 3 neighbors witnessed it. When Christina started shopping at the discount grocery store instead of Whole Foods using coupons clipped from newspapers, the change didn't go unnoticed. Mrs. Patterson, their next-door neighbor, called me directly. "Kenneth, dear, I'm worried about Christina. She looks terrible. Thin, dark circles under her eyes. Pierce has been drinking more, I think. Their lawn hasn't been mowed in 2 weeks. It sounds like they're going through a difficult time. Is there anything I can do to help? I'm sure they'd appreciate knowing neighbors care. Perhaps a casserole." Mrs. Patterson's casserole delivery provided perfect cover for neighborhood intelligence gathering. Within days, the Whisper Network activated. Financial troubles, possible separation, that poor little boy caught in the middle? Pierce's paranoia escalated beautifully. He confronted Tom Bradley, their neighbor across the street, accusing him of spreading lies about our family. Tom, confused by the unprovoked aggression, shared the incident with other neighbors. Pierce's behavior was becoming the problem, not the gossip. Christina's isolation deepened when their golf club membership got suspended for unpaid dues. The gym membership followed. Small embarrassments that announced their financial freefall to everyone who mattered in their social circle. But Pierce's most destructive decision came on day 10. Desperate for income, he applied for a title loan against their house, using their home as collateral for quick cash. The interest rates were predatory, the terms devastating. Worse, he did it without Christina's knowledge or consent. I learned about it through my banking connections before Christina did. David Chen's casual mention during our weekly check-in call confirmed Pierce's desperation had reached dangerous levels. "Your son-in-law applied for asset-based lending against the house. Risky move, Kenneth." "Is the loan approved?" "Not from us. His credit profile is too unstable. He'll end up with predatory lenders if he's not careful." Christina discovered Pierce's scheme that evening when she found the paperwork hidden in his desk drawer. Her phone call to me at midnight Pacific time, 3 a.m. my time, woke me from the soundest sleep I'd had in weeks. "Dad, please. He's going to lose our home." I let her finish her sobbing explanation before responding with mathematical precision. "Christina, the solution is simple. Pay back the $847,000 you owe me plus interest, and I'll resume financial support." "We don't have that kind of money." "Then perhaps you should have considered that before walking away from me at the airport." I hung up and turned off my phone's ringer. Tomorrow, Patricia Williams would receive an anonymous tip about Pierce Morrison's financial desperation, making him a security risk for any technology company handling sensitive data. Phase 3 was proceeding exactly as planned. By the second week of my campaign, Westwood's gossip network had fully activated around the Morrison family crisis. I monitored their social destruction from 3,000 miles away through a combination of strategic contacts and social media surveillance that would have impressed my former business competitors. Christina's attempt to maintain normalcy crumbled at Michael's school pickup on Tuesday. While waiting in the carpool line, Linda Morrison, no relation to Pierce, just unfortunate name similarity, approached Christina's 10-year-old Honda with concerned friendliness. "Christina, honey, is everything all right? You look exhausted?" Through Mrs. Patterson's detailed reporting, I learned that Christina's response had been a 20-minute breakdown in full view of other parents. The story spread through the school's parent WhatsApp group within hours. Financial troubles, family conflict, that sweet little Michael caught in the crossfire. Principal Dr. Martinez called Christina in for a conference about Michael's deteriorating behavior. My grandson, and he was still my grandson despite everything, had gotten into 3 fights in 2 weeks. His grades dropped from consistent A's to struggling C's. The school counselor reported Michael's obsessive questions about broken families and his desperate attempts to call me from the school phone. "Michael drew this yesterday," Dr. Martinez told Christina, sliding a piece of construction paper across his desk. The drawing showed 4 stick figures under a dark cloud. 3 figures held hands, but the 4th, labeled Grandpa in Michael's careful handwriting, stood apart with a large X drawn through it. Christina's workplace situation deteriorated in parallel. Margaret, her supervisor at the marketing firm, documented 3 missed deadlines and 2 client complaints about distracted service. The performance improvement plan Christina signed included mandatory counseling and a 60-day probation period. But Pierce's unraveling provided the most satisfaction. His paranoid behavior at community gatherings became legendary. At the Westwood Farmers Market, he confronted Jerry Kim, accusing him of spreading rumors about our finances. Jerry, who barely knew Pierce beyond casual waves, shared the bizarre encounter with his wife, who shared it with her book club, who shared it with their neighbors. Pierce's drinking escalated visibly. Mrs. Patterson reported wine bottles in their recycling bin, multiplying weekly. His appearance degraded, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, the hollow-eyed look of a man whose carefully constructed world was collapsing. The community's response followed predictable patterns. Initial sympathy for the family's difficult time gradually shifted to whispered speculation about Pierce's responsibility. When he shouted at teenage neighbor Jake for riding his skateboard too close to their driveway, even Christina's longtime friends began questioning Pierce's stability. Michael's emotional needs created additional pressure points I hadn't anticipated. His teacher, Ms. Thompson, called Christina with concerns about Michael's repeated statements that Grandpa Kenneth doesn't love me anymore. He keeps asking other children if their grandparents ever stop loving them, Ms. Thompson explained. It's heartbreaking, Christina. Is there any way to resolve whatever's happening with his grandfather? Christina's response, according to my sources, was another public breakdown. This time in the school hallway, witnessed by parents arriving for pickup, sobbing that her father was punishing a 10-year-old for adult problems. The irony was exquisite. Christina finally understood that Kenneth Hughes was willing to hurt Michael to hurt her, except she had the causation completely backward. Pierce's job search became a community joke. His interview at neighborhood favorite TechFlow Solutions lasted exactly 15 minutes before Patricia Williams escorted him out. His application to Startup Hub was withdrawn due to reference concerns. His networking attempts at the Westwood Business Association monthly mixer ended with him arguing with potential employers about discrimination against family men facing temporary difficulties. Jennifer Kim, the tech recruiter, called me personally to report Pierce's increasingly desperate outreach. Kenneth, your son-in-law contacted me 6 times yesterday. 6. His behavior is becoming concerning. Should I be worried about my safety? Pierce is under significant stress, I replied carefully. I'd recommend documenting any threatening behavior and keeping interactions strictly professional. He mentioned you specifically, said you were sabotaging his career through lies and manipulation. Pierce is facing the consequences of his own choices. The title loan application Pierce had hidden from Christina got approved by a predatory lender charging 37% interest. When Christina discovered the paperwork, her call to Pierce's phone went straight to voicemail. He was at Murphy's Tavern, according to Mrs. Patterson, drinking alone at 2 p.m. Christina found the paperwork spread across Pierce's desk like evidence of betrayal. Loan applications, cash advance forms, even research into selling Michael's college fund investments without her consent. Her phone call to me at 11 p.m. Pacific time carried a different tone than previous desperate pleas. Dad, I found out what Pierce has been doing. The lies he told you at the airport, the lies he's been telling everyone about you, the financial decisions he's making without telling me. I let her talk without interruption, noting the shift from we to Pierce in her language. He's going to destroy everything. Our house, Michael's education, our entire life. I can't stop him. Christina, you could have stopped him 2 weeks ago by choosing your father over your husband's manipulation. I know that now. Dad, please, I'll leave him. I'll move back to New York with Michael. Just, please don't let Pierce drag us down with him. The offer I'd been waiting for. But the timing wasn't right yet. Pierce needed to complete his own destruction first. Call me tomorrow, Christina. We'll discuss terms. Christina slammed the title loan papers onto their kitchen table at 6 a.m, the sound sharp enough to make Pierce jump and spill coffee across his wrinkled shirt. He'd been drinking until 3 a.m., and his bloodshot eyes struggled to focus on the documents scattered before him. Explain this. Her voice carried a fury Pierce had never heard before. You were going to risk our house without telling me? Pierce wiped coffee from his chin, his hand trembling slightly. It's just a backup plan, Christina. We're not actually going to use it. Fast cash title loans? 37% interest? She grabbed the paperwork, waving it at him. Pierce, this is our home. Michael's home. I'm trying to solve our problems while you cry about your father. Christina stared at her husband, unshaven, reeking of wine, making financial decisions that could destroy their son's stability. The man she'd married seemed like a stranger wearing Pierce's face. By 10 o'clock, she'd forced him into the car and driven to the title loan office in a strip mall between a pawn shop and a liquor store. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Pierce reluctantly requested to withdraw his application. "Already ran your credit check, though," the loan officer explained with practiced indifference. "That'll stay on your report." In the parking lot, Pierce exploded. "You don't have any better ideas. Your precious father has us trapped. You forged my signature." Christina held up the preliminary paperwork. "You were going to risk everything without even telling me." Pierce's mouth opened, then closed. No denial, just the hollow look of a man caught in his final lie. The call from Michael's new school came at 2 p.m., interrupting Christina's attempt to salvage a client presentation. Washington Elementary's counselor, Ms. Rodriguez, spoke with professional concern about another incident. "Michael got into a fight today. Another child made comments about his family's financial situation." Christina closed her office door, her hands shaking. "What kind of comments?" "The other child said his mother told him your family was broke and crazy." Michael responded with his fists. Driving to the school, Christina realized the gossip network had reached even the children. Michael sat in the principal's office, his uniform shirt torn, knuckles scraped, looking smaller than his 10 years. "I just want Grandpa Kenneth back," he whispered when the adults stepped outside to discuss consequences. "Everything was better when Grandpa loved us." Christina's disciplinary meeting with her supervisor, Margaret, came the next morning. 3 missed deadlines documented. 2 client complaints about distracted service. Personal phone calls during important meetings. "Christina, I've been patient because I know you're dealing with family issues." Margaret's voice carried genuine concern mixed with business reality. "But this pattern can't continue. Consider this a formal warning." "I understand." Christina's voice sounded hollow, even to herself. "Is there anything the company can do to help? Employee assistance program? Personal leave?" Christina almost laughed. Personal leave would solve nothing when Pierce was systematically destroying everything Kenneth had built for them over 15 years. That evening, she found Pierce in his home office, surrounded by empty beer bottles and credit card applications. Not just 1 or 2, a dozen different companies, all promising instant approval for qualified applicants. "Pierce, what is this?" He looked up with the guilty expression of a child caught stealing. "Emergency backup plans. We've already maxed out 4 cards. Our credit is destroyed." She picked up an application for a store card with 49% interest. "This is insanity. Your father's trying to destroy us." "No." Christina's clarity felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. "You destroyed us. You planned that airport confrontation, didn't you?" Pierce's silence was answer enough. "You coached me on what to say. You took his phone. You walked away first." The memories rearranged themselves with devastating accuracy. Dad looked genuinely confused because he hadn't asked us for money. He was getting too dependent. He flew here with a $50,000 check for Michael's birthday, Pierce. He came to give, not take. Pierce's face crumpled like wet paper. He was threatening our independence. No, he was threatening your control over me. The next day brought a noise complaint from their neighbors. Police arriving at 2 p.m. to find Pierce shouting at the television, drunk on a Tuesday, while Michael was still at school. Mrs. Patterson called Christina at work with barely concealed concern. "Dear, I think Pierce might need help. Professional help." Christina left work early, finding Pierce passed out in his office chair while Michael needed pickup from school. She stared at her husband, the man who'd convinced her that her father's love was manipulation, that generosity was control, that needing family was weakness. For the first time in 3 weeks, she scrolled to Kenneth's number on her phone. The phone rang 4 times before I answered. I'd been expecting Christina's call for days, watching her situation deteriorate through my carefully maintained network of informants. When her name appeared on my screen at 2 o'clock Pacific time, I let it ring long enough to demonstrate that she no longer commanded my immediate attention. "Hello, Christina." Her breath caught, as if she had prepared for voicemail instead of conversation. "Dad, I think we made a terrible mistake." "I'm listening." The silence stretched across 3,000 miles. In the background, I could hear Michael's voice asking someone about homework, the innocent sound of a 10-year-old unaware that his parents' marriage was collapsing around his grandfather's calculated revenge. Pierce has been... She paused, choosing words carefully. He manipulated the situation at the airport. The things he said, the way he coached me. I don't think I was thinking clearly. What would you like me to do about that, Christina? I don't know. I need time to figure this out, to understand how we got here. Take all the time you need. I have other matters to attend to. I hung up gently, then immediately called Marcus Thompson at Highland Financial Services. Marcus had been my investment banker for 15 years, a sharp mind with an appreciation for creative financial strategies. Kenneth, good to hear from you. What's the project this time? I want to buy debt, specifically all the outstanding debts belonging to Pierce and Christina Morrison in Los Angeles. Marcus was quiet for a moment, then chuckled with professional admiration. Debt acquisition through shell company purchase. Brilliant. What's the target amount? Credit cards, medical bills, utility arrearages. Probably $60,000 total. I want them to owe everything to me. We can structure this through Highland Financial. Most creditors will sell delinquent debt for 25 to 30 cents on the dollar. They'll be thrilled to get anything back. The next morning, I sat in Robert Steele's office reviewing acquisition documents that would make me Christina and Pierce's primary creditor. The legal strategy was elegant in its simplicity. When I owned their debts, I controlled their financial future completely. You're essentially becoming their bank, Robert observed, reviewing the paperwork. Every payment, every negotiation, every settlement goes through you. Exactly. And banks can set terms for debt forgiveness. Terms like what? I leaned back in the leather chair, thinking about Michael's tearful voicemails asking if he'd made Grandpa mad. Public acknowledgement of their mistakes, behavioral modification, family counseling, sobriety for Pierce, and a formal apology, written and signed. Robert's professional admiration was evident. Completely legal, financially sound, and psychologically devastating. Within 48 hours, Highland Financial had contacted every creditor holding Pierce and Christina's debt. First National Bank was eager to sell their delinquent credit card accounts. Pacific Medical Group accepted our offer for Pierce's emergency room bills from his drinking-related incidents. Even the utility companies were happy to recoup partial payments from debts they'd written off. My total investment, $18,500 to control $62,200 of their debt. Less than 1% of my savings to own their financial future. Marcus called Wednesday afternoon with the final numbers. Congratulations, Kenneth. Highland Financial Services now holds paper on the Morrison family. Every major debt they owe is yours to forgive or enforce. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out the photo I'd carried since Michael's birth. Him taking his first steps toward me, arms outstretched, face bright with trust. Sarah's voice echoed in my memory. Don't let your hurt destroy your love. But love, I'd learned, sometimes required hard lessons. When do we deliver the settlement offer? Robert asked, preparing the formal documentation. I looked at Michael's photo one more time, then placed it face down on my desk. Tomorrow. It's time to end this. The process server arrived at Christina and Pierce's house at 9 a.m. on Thursday, delivering documents that would change everything. Christina signed for the certified mail with trembling hands, then sat at their kitchen table reading words that redefined their entire relationship with reality. Highland Financial Services now owned every major debt they carried. Credit cards, medical bills, utility arrearages, all of it purchased by a company that demanded immediate payment or acceptance of settlement terms. The settlement offer was attached: complete debt forgiveness in exchange for formal acknowledgement of wrongdoing, mandatory family counseling, Pierce's sobriety commitment, and a written apology to Kenneth Hughes. Pierce read the documents twice before the magnitude hit him. He's destroyed us completely. Christina studied the settlement terms with growing clarity. Kenneth had the power to bankrupt them, force foreclosure, ruin their credit permanently. Instead, he was offering mercy with conditions that would rebuild their family rather than destroy it. He's offering to forgive $62,000, Pierce. It's a trap. Legal manipulation. No. Christina set down the papers with sudden calm. It's exactly what Dad always did. Solve our problems while teaching us lessons we were too stubborn to learn. Pierce's desperation escalated into threats. If you call him, if you give in to this manipulation, I'll make sure you never see Michael again. Christina looked at her husband, drunk before noon, paranoid, financially reckless, threatening to use their son as a weapon against her own father, the man who'd systematically poisoned her mind against Kenneth's generosity. Mom is watching Michael this afternoon. I'm flying to New York. Christina, don't do this. You already did this, Pierce, at the airport, when you convinced me that Dad's love was manipulation and his generosity was control. She grabbed her purse and car keys. I'm going to fix what you broke. The flight from LAX to JFK gave Christina 6 hours to review 15 years of Kenneth's support through Pierce's distorting influence. Wedding costs, medical bills, house down payment, failed business investment, COVID support, every major crisis in their adult lives resolved by her father's quiet generosity. She remembered the airport confrontation differently now. Kenneth's genuine confusion, the gift bag he'd dropped, his attempts to show them something they'd refused to see. Pierce's coaching beforehand, his aggressive opening attack, his satisfaction afterward. Central Park Caf looked exactly as it had during her childhood visits to New York. The same corner table by the pond, afternoon sunlight filtering through trees just beginning their summer fullness. Kenneth sat with his back to the water, wearing the blue cardigan she'd given him for Father's Day 3 years ago. He looked thinner than she remembered, older, but his posture carried the dignified composure she'd inherited and then abandoned under Pierce's influence. Dad. He stood as she approached, his manners automatic despite everything. Christina. She broke down immediately. 3 weeks of suppressed guilt and realization pouring out in tears that drew concerned glances from Mother Calf. Patrons. Kenneth waited quietly, his hands folded, until her sobbing subsided. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so incredibly sorry. Kenneth reached into his jacket and pulled out a familiar envelope. Slightly wrinkled, the edges soft from handling. The $50,000 check made out to Christina Hughes Morrison, dated May 15th, 2025. I never came to take, he said quietly. I came to give. Christina stared at the check through her tears. Michael's birthday money. College fund contribution. Early graduation gift. Whatever you needed it to be. Kenneth's voice carried 15 years of hurt. I flew across the country to celebrate my grandson's 10th birthday and give his family a financial gift. Pierce turned it into a confrontation about dependency. He coached me on what to say. He told me you were getting too needy, too demanding. Christina wiped her eyes with calf? Napkins. He made me believe your love was manipulation. Pierce was threatened by my relationship with you and Michael. Generous fathers-in-law make controlling husbands look inadequate. Christina nodded, understanding flooding through her like cold water. He systematically turned me against you. And I responded by showing him what real financial power looks like. Kenneth explained his campaign with the methodical precision of a business presentation. The debt acquisition, the professional network activation, the social pressure through community contacts. Christina listened with growing amazement at the sophistication of his revenge. You own everything we owe? Highland Financial Services owns it. I control Highland Financial Services. You could destroy us completely. Yes, but you're offering forgiveness instead. Kenneth looked across the pond where ducks were gathering for evening feeding. Your mother used to say that the best revenge is helping people become their best selves. Christina reached across the table, touching her father's hand for the first time in 3 weeks. What do you need from us to forgive this debt? Kenneth's answer was simple and devastating. What I've always needed, respect, and Pierce needs to change. Christina nodded, understanding the justice in his terms. I'll make sure he understands. 6 months later, Kenneth stood in Christina and Pierce's kitchen on Thanksgiving morning, watching his grandson carefully measure ingredients for cornbread stuffing. The house felt different now, organized, peaceful, free from the undercurrent of financial anxiety that had poisoned the atmosphere for years. Pierce entered from the garage carrying folding chairs, his movements purposeful rather than frantic. While 127 days sober, according to the chip he'd shown Kenneth with quiet pride the week before. His appearance had improved dramatically. Clean-shaven, focused, treating Kenneth with genuine respect rather than Pierce's former manipulative charm. "Kenneth, thank you for the business books you sent." Pierce set up chairs around their expanded dining table. "The section on ethical networking is helping with my new position." Kenneth nodded acknowledgement. Pierce's transformation hadn't been instant or complete, but the changes were authentic. Weekly family counseling with Dr. Sarah Mitchell had taught him to recognize his manipulative patterns. Individual therapy helped him address the insecurity that had driven his need to control Christina's relationship with her father. "How are things at Tech Stable Solutions?" "Good. Steady. Boring compared to my startup fantasies, but stable income and honest work." Pierce's voice carried self-awareness that would have been impossible 6 months earlier. "I'm learning that boring can be a virtue in family life." Christina appeared from the living room, carrying Michael's latest art project, a family portrait that included everyone, drawn in bright crayon colors that suggested happiness rather than obligation. She looked healthy again, having regained the weight she'd lost during their crisis. Her promotion at work had come through in September, a reward for renewed focus and reliability. "Dad, Michael wants to show you his science fair project before dinner." In Michael's bedroom, Kenneth examined a solar system model that demonstrated genuine understanding of planetary orbital mechanics. His grandson's grades had recovered completely once family stability returned. The private school readmission in August had been Kenneth's gift to Michael's future. "Grandpa, look what happens when I adjust Jupiter's position." Michael manipulated the model with careful precision. "It changes Mars's orbit completely." Kenneth smiled at the unintended metaphor. Small changes in one planet can affect the whole system. Just like families, right? Exactly like families, Michael. Dinner conversation flowed with the ease of relationships rebuilt on honesty rather than resentment. Pierce shared updates about his AA sponsor's guidance. Christina discussed her client's projects without the stress that had made her unreliable 6 months earlier. Michael chatted about friends, school activities, and his excitement about Kenneth's upcoming visit for his science fair presentation. During dessert, Pierce stood unexpectedly, wine glass filled with sparkling cider, in deference to his sobriety. "Kenneth, I owe you an apology that I should have made months ago." His voice carried the careful cadence of someone who'd practiced these words in therapy. "I systematically turned Christina against you because I felt threatened by your generosity. I convinced myself that your love was manipulation because it highlighted my own inadequacies. I poisoned our family with lies, greed, and control. But you've shown us, what true strength looks like. Not revenge, but redemption. Thank you for giving us the chance to rebuild." Kenneth raised his glass, his eyes meeting Pierce's with measured forgiveness. "Apology accepted. Family isn't about perfection. It's about learning from the breaks." As the evening wound down, Christina squeezed her father's hand under the table. "We almost lost everything, Dad. But we gained something better. Understanding." Michael, oblivious to the depths of their journey, beamed at the table. "This is the best Thanksgiving ever, Grandpa. Promise you'll come for Christmas too?" Kenneth smiled, his heart finally at peace. "I promise, buddy. We're family. Stronger now than ever." In the quiet of his New York apartment weeks later, Kenneth reflected on Sarah's wisdom. Love endures through trials. He'd taught them the cost of ingratitude, but more importantly, the value of grace. The check had been a gift. Forgiveness, the greatest legacy. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.